Hi. Yeah. Right. Very quickly on that last. I think I did a video there about the Atlantis thing. The reason I said that, yeah, the reason I said that was because I got a look at a video the other day, and it was, I've seen this video about Gobekli, Tepe, loads of that, all that stuff. Yeah, but this other one was pretty good, because there's a bit in there by Irving Finkel, and I don't really, I'm not, truthfully, I don't know writing, I know nothing, I know a little bit, he's in that type of circle, but don't know anything. So I'm really not knocking him down here, yeah. But please understand that if you're going into a different paradigm, you've got to dump a lot of crap that hasn't arrived into your present here. And a lot of that stuff that is here in the now doesn't exist at Gobekli Tepe. Okay? That thought process, that assumed systemization, if you like, that determinism, you got to really junk that. That's your RAM. All you're really thinking of now is your ROM. Or, it's in front of you. Yeah? So you can't drag any, reasoning junk, or even ancient logic, even from the Indus Valley stuff. You can't really use the P not P type of engagement, because we got to think that that's not the paradigm. Yeah, right. So in the video, so I don't really want to knock anything else, but and I've got a lot more to do, and I just want to get this bit out of the way, and I could be talking bollocks, but I don't really think there's a bit of a communication there. They found a bit of a thing there, a bit of a stone there with three symbols on it. Yeah, the first one's a snake. Yeah, that's the same snake in Genesis, by the way. The second one is the Poseidon's trident tree, and that's why you need Atlantis, because Atlantis is Poseidon's domain, if you like, in the big fight with Athena years ago. It's not Athena. It's not. We'd have to engage with that type of objectification later on. Yeah, in my view. Yeah. So right, and then the last bit there, if you notice that the trident's cut in half, and the last symbol is that the trees are gone down. Yeah. This is Plato's hubris. This is the explanation. This is when Plato spoke about hubris, the Atlantean hubris. This is it. And it's, so to me that sort of factionalizes Athens a little bit, because he's talking about us and them, if you know what I mean, yeah. But the thing is, the first thing is the snake. That's just life, yeah. Need Poseidon, and that is recorded, and it's Atlantis, Poseidon, King Neptune, all that stuff. It's the same stuff, yeah. And then the trident's turned upside down and snapped in half. Does that make sense? And that was Atlantis gone. So that 9,000 years thing ties in quite well as part of a construction post Atlantis, and it also might explain why some men in bags, which would be prevalent around all Gaulish areas. It's not just stuck in Sparta or stuck in Ireland or anything like that. Yeah, it was, these guys would have the bags, but be everywhere. Yeah. It's just, that's their job. Like the blacksmiths. There's blacksmiths, fletchers, bakers, all that stuff. Yeah, that's their job. Yeah, bagmen. It's a very low job. Very bollock. Yeah, and even though I introduced the Gaelic there, don't Gaelicize it, Gaelicize it. It's entire the Mediterranean, the Atlantic modal haplogroup is just pushed right in. Phoenician, Canaanite, the whole fucking lot of them. They're all of the same family, and that's the Arabs as well. I think the Arab. Sorry, I don't mean to. Look, I'm not making any presumptions. I don't know. That might be a bridge too far. I just don't know. But the language structure from that language structure, the Dolme Ishke, drink me water. Yeah, Dolme Ishke means I drink water, but it's not when you flip it around, when you read it directly. Dol me water, and it's O, yeah. Dol me ishka, sorry. So it's the dol verb and thing, yeah, and the thing, yeah. And what you need to do is to assess that the Phoenician, the Canaanite Phoenician, that whole fucking area is just that syntax, and that syntax ties in with another little video that I did when I mentioned Earth, and Earth, yeah? Because by assuming that existential relation, you see, that structure, that Aramaic structure, fits in But Greek doesn't necessarily fit in. It's a different thing. So when you translate from one to another, it's an entirely different arrangement, in my view. What else? Yeah, that's what. So it happened after this year. It was covered in, wasn't it? And not even all of it's out. That's a sad story. That's a really bad story, actually. I think there was some creepy crawlies, not creepy crawlies, but grotesques that came out of that, you know. And they would be all over Europe. I think they'd be, you know, European. It's the end of a technology, rather in the direction where we're going now. Yeah, it's at the end of a technological stage, and what they've done is they've extended it into human beings. They had it on animals because they were doing animal husbandry, but now they're extending it into human beings, and you get grotesques, the Fomorians. Again, they've Gallicized it, but it's not Gaelic Ireland specific, really not. And nor is any of that crowd that used that Phoenician sort of maritime transportation system, because it was really, you know, like Carthage was just a shipbuilding city, from my understanding, and I think they're the precursor to IKEA, from what I understand. So with the technologies and stuff like that, we assume, yeah, and a lot of the words that you might bring into that sort of engagement, you can't do. So the snake is just life, and that is the exact same snake that is in, yeah, in Genesis. So you need to look at Genesis in a slightly different way, and then things really start to get interesting. Oh dear. I hope that helps. But there's a lot of other stuff that kicks off like that. Jesus is easy to explain. Joseph of Arimathea is easy to explain. If you wanted to engage with those, just pull them out. But remember, the books were written and introduced far later, and they were spun, in my view. Like Gabriel is an angle on a fucking star, yeah? It doesn't go around visiting him. There's no wings, you know, people with wings and stuff like that. Maybe I'm just my pragmatic mind, yeah? It's not. What you see, that's it. And Magi look at that, and they will follow that star. They're tracking, and yeah? Because you're not looking for a geographical space. You're looking for a temporal space. Space and temporal. Yeah. That's a better. Temporal space is probably an easier, you know, from here to here, out type of thing. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. There's loads of other stuff like that, but I'd have to go through stuff, you know. But remember, prediction and stuff like that, you know. That was all, you know, like it's all, you know, like you can predict, you know, similar patterns, right? And the other thing was, if I say confess, yeah, with fess, yeah, fess is from essence, yeah, and fess means, you know, fess up, be true, yeah, so that you get this prophecy, you know, it is profess, yeah. I mean, I know it sounds this, but that's where you get your professor, profess, same thing, true, yeah, prophecy. And I'm just using phonics. I'm not using the language here. It's not the language. It's the phonic that would have been chosen. You know, and I'm not saying the right phonic. That would have been chosen to actually you know, to let it out into the air. Let your view. You know, like the dialectical sing-song type thing. Yeah. I don't know if that makes any sense. But there's a lot of other stuff that jumps out of that. Just before it, there's some things that are on Atlantis that aren't in the science today, yeah? In other words, I think wheels predated by about 6,000 years on the current, yeah? And there's a lot of that type of thing. And the telling part for me on the Atlantis story, because Plato he wouldn't have invited this story in without, in my view, one thing. Apart from the hubris act, you know, the Gobekli Tepe debacle, you know, he wouldn't have introduced it in without the idea. It was built in concentric circles. So you had circles 12,000 years ago. And that's what you know. You don't know how long before that they had those. So when you talk about Thales or something like that not Thales, what's his name? Yeah, Thales he's up in the Dardanelles place, you know, I can't remember the name. But he's up there, the thing. Thrace. He's in Thrace, yeah. But he's a Phoenician, you see. And he was the father of mathematics. Now, you can't say he's the father of mathematics if they have concentric circles at least 12,000 years ago. So, try and consider that where we are now is just a sing-song, you know? Just a bit of a wave. And you can beat the wave if you know how to get out of it. you know. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I hope that was useful for some of you guys. Yeah, but there's a load of other stuff that comes out of this. Really, it's a really great fit. Don't forget that on the other side of the Atlantic, you got all that, you know, Mesoamerica and stuff like this, and Peru and everything kicking in. And then there's sunken cities down there. There's no question. They're there in the earth. Yeah, I'm not talking about the air. I'm talking about earth. You can check it. Yeah. And the difference between ERTH, I think I mentioned this before, and AERTH, that's that gap is what you've got to try and fill in terms of existential knowledge, belief. You just need a set of beliefs that are sufficient to offer sufficient contingency, yeah? But in order to ensure that sufficient contingency, you really have to strengthen up alpha, yeah? Everybody's an alpha. I'm an alpha. Yeah. Okay, I hope that helps you, yeah? Thank you. And please, if you don't understand anything I'm saying, you've got to start at the start of the videos. And it's nothing to do with anything else. You've got to be in the same path. Otherwise, the words we're using are not connected. Our terms are not agreed. If that makes sense. Not that we're agreeing anything, you know, I'm doing all the talking, you know. But that's giving you a bit of a rest, you know. Oh, boy. Alright, thanks. Thank you.